welcome to Mom Talk. On this episode, Victoria and I have a guest with us here today. We have Caityln Tomer. So thank you, Caitlyn, for hanging out with us.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yay. Okay, so you have two small boys.
Yes.
And you work at a daycare. That's how we know you.
Yes.
And you work with 1,000 kids every day, and you still wanted to have your own two.
I did. You know, at first, since my mom has worked there for so long, growing up, it was those were her babies, and I didn't feel I don't know. I was like, you spend so much time with those kids. What about me?
You were a little jealous?
For sure.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was like, I'm never working there. It's not going to happen.
LOL.
Even, when I started college, I didn't, declare a major at first. I was like, whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be with kids. I just know that. And then Mom wanted me to move away, go away, do your own thing,
Mm-hmm.
Live in a dorm, join a sorority, all the things. But I had already started working at the barn in high school for extra money and stuff, and I was like, I can't leave.
You got
how would I just
drawn
leave?
in.
Oh yeah, all the kiddos.
So you love them as much as your mom.
Yes, I get it. Because she even had a picture of a little boy on a keychain and her keys. That wasn't even hers. I'm like, you don't have a picture of me on your keychain.
Your actual
How
child.
disrespectful, but but now I get it, because now, our fridge has art from other kids, and I'm like, okay. But I got to figure out how to make sure that, my boys know that they're still the best over everyone else's. But luckily, they don't understand that now, because they're 3 months and not even 2. So.
Yeah, little.
Yeah.
So wait, how old were you when your mom started working there?
I was in, I think, 3rd grade.
Okay, so did you ever go there as part of...
Yes. So I went there literally as soon as she moved over there. I was going there, and then I kind of switched. It pretty much went when I aged out, kid-wise, then it was okay, well, now you're going to have to start working.
Now you're working.
I wasn't going to stay home alone. That kind of freaked me out. I did it a little bit, but I was always with my mom anyways. So I was like, well, I'll just come to the barn. She's like, okay, let's go wash the walls. And she knows that would make me so mad. I'd be like, you want me to wash the walls? And she's like, well, you can't take care of the kids because you're still a kid yourself. Yeah. So I'd be washing the walls and so mad at her.
Oh, yeah. She gave you the hard job.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
So did you know you always wanted to be a mom, or was that something that kind of developed from being around kids?
I don't know. I don't think I really thought about it at all until my little brother. We're 20 years apart. So it's nice and weird.
20 exactly?
Yeah. My mom had me when she was 17, and then she had Caityln at 37. So we're exactly 20 years apart. And I don't know, taking care of him, you would think, since I was in college, that's good birth control. But I was like, no, I want one.
Does that have the opposite effect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it is at the barn, too, when people work there. I'm like, you'll either be like, I'm going to be a mom tomorrow, and I'll be putting you on the waiting list in a few months.
Yep.
Or you're like, I don't want kids ever.
What's it like having a 20-year age gap with your sibling?
I think he just thinks I'm his other mom.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Okay, 2 moms. I like that. I can see that.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, Caityln would rather come live with me, and Barrett would rather go live with my parents.
Just trade kids.
Yeah. Or Zach's parents.
Okay.
He doesn't really care about mom and dad too much. He wants the grandparents. Because, there he gets
about to
spoiled.
say,
He gets to do whatever. There's other kids to
fun.
play with because all the grandkids. And then at home, we just want to go over there. And my parents live on the same property. So he knows where they are. He's like, I'm going over there. We're like, no, not tonight.
I love
We
that.
can have a little bit of separation.
But can you really walk there? You can see their house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That is...
Yeah, it's kind of behind us, so there's quite a few trees and stuff, but he knows. He's like, Gigi Bop? I'm like, yes, there's a Gigi Bop. We're going to stay at our house. And he's like, no. Gigi Bop. And Caityln's like, can we just trade? I'll come sleep and Barrett can have my room at my house. And I'm like,
oh, scheming. They have a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Do they get along?
Yes.
What's their age gap?
Caityln will be 5 in December, and Barrett will be 2 in January.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. I think Caityln's in that stage right now. He's like, Barrett's not following the rules. And I'm like, well, he doesn't understand. Or he'll get mad at him because they're playing peekaboo, and he's like, Barrett, close your eyes. And Barrett's eyes are open. And he's like, he's not closing his eyes. I'm like, that's because he doesn't understand. He's like, I'm not sleeping. Why would I close my eyes? He doesn't get that yet.
Aw, but is he good with them?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
He's very helpful. He helps me buckle him in the car. I'm like, thank you. I needed an extra hand. So, but sometimes it gets a little too rough, and I'm like, okay, that's enough help. I'm good.
Yeah.
You've helped so
settled.
good.
Yes. Yeah.
So taking it back, what was pregnancy like for you?
With Barrett, it was pretty rough. I feel like they were both pretty rough. Wouldn't recommend, wouldn't do it again, for sure. But for different reasons. Barrett, I was super sick the whole time. And of course I had him in the beginning of 2022. So when I was sick, I was like, oh, I must have COVID, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it turned out, no, I'm pregnant. Okay. But we were very excited, and we were 6 months into our marriage,
Okay.
6 or 7 months. And really it was just the sickness the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I knew, like, I had done my research. I was like, I'm not delivering early. Like, I know that, like, your first baby usually comes late, you know, or on time. But I had this, like, feeling. I was like, I'm not delivering naturally. Like, I just knew. And, like, my family, like, Zacky's like, well, honey, that's how it happens. Like, you got to push it out.
It's not.
I was like, I know it's not happening. Like, even when we're in the hospital, I'm like, it's not coming out that way. And even the doctor is like, that's how it usually comes out. I'm like, I don't know. It's not. I just know that it's not going to.
You had the mom's intuition.
Yeah, I knew.
Wow.
And then I was like, guess
Did
what?
you think he was
right.
a boy or did you think he was a girl? Did you have a feel on that?
No, not really. Because I feel like...
I was so sick with Mason, I definitely thought girl, because you hear girls make you sick.
Yeah.
So I definitely thought he was a girl.
I feel like symptoms-wise, everything was, like, back and forth. And heart rate was kind of, like, right in the middle of the two. So it was kind of hard to tell with Barrett. With Riot, I was convinced he was a girl. Because everything was so different. I didn't get sick very much. I just felt, like, dizzy all the time, which we found out eventually why. But I was barely sick. So I was like, oh, it must be a girl. And then we did find out the gender. And it was a boy. And Zach was like, hi, I knew it. I'm like, but no, you didn't.
Everything's
no,
so
you
different.
Didn't. Like, this is, I'm going through. Like, I'm so confused. I thought they would be somewhat similar, but nothing about them is the same.
Did you find out with Barrett that you were having a boy?
No.
You were surprised?
Yeah.
Okay,
I wanted
that's
to
fun.
wait just to make
how
our
was
family
that?
mad, honestly. Like, they were
Out of
so
spite.
mad. Yeah. They were like, my mom was like, well, can they send me the results so I can know and I can not stress about this for 9 months? I'm like, no, absolutely
oh my gosh,
not.
that's too funny.
I love it.
Yeah. So whenever, like, I had him by C-section, so I'm laying there, the curtain's up, you know, they let Zach come around and see him, and he's like, oh my gosh, his toes are long, and I'm like, his toes? And of course I can't move, and he's like, oh yeah, it's a boy, and I'm like freaking out,
Aww.
but, you know, again, it was COVID, so nobody could come to the hospital,
Right.
like, you couldn't do the whole, like, go out and let everybody know it's a boy, and that was kind of one of the driving forces of to why we
disappointing,
wanted to
isn't it?
find out too. Yeah, like he wanted the moment of coming out into the lobby and saying, it's a boy, he weighs this much and all that, but we didn't get that.
So did you try to deliver him naturally, or was it C-section pretty quick
I
in the
did.
hospital?
So my due date was on a Friday in January, but it was snowed. So I was supposed to have an appointment that day. And of course they canceled it because it snowed a ton. And Zach at the time, he was a corrections officer, so he had to be at work either way. And they moved my appointment to the following Monday. Went in, they checked, wasn't anything. And now, at this point, I was over 40 weeks. And they were like, okay, we're going to induce you tomorrow. Be at the hospital at 5 a.m. We're like, okay. We let everybody know. We get to the hospital on that Tuesday. Get kind of checked in, get Pitocin and everything started. I had one OB up until like 34 weeks of pregnancy. Just wasn't a good fit. I think first pregnancy, I just kind of needed more. I'm like, I don't know what is going on. Like,
right.
I'm not one to talk to my mom about those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I don't know that this is happening with my body. And the doctor was like, oh yeah, perfectly normal. Turns out it wasn't. So luckily I got to switch super late, which isn't common, I guess, because
I've heard that's hard.
yeah.
Some people won't take you
Yeah,
past a
I
certain
had
point.
called at like midway through and I was like, is there any way I can switch to this doctor? And they were like, no, they're not taking new patients. And then I had ended up calling the like after hours emergency number one time, and that doctor's the one that called me back. The next day his nurse calls me and is like, hey, he wants you to move to his, you know, list or whatever. And I was like, oh, thank you,
Thank
Jesus.
you.
Yes, because I was like, and it was kind of for my whole family, like everybody knew what was going on, and they were like, that's kind of a prayer answered.
Yeah.
And thank goodness, because I couldn't get dilated past a 4, like for hours and hours. Like we tried all the things, like all the exercises, all the flipping you overs, like, and I felt like my heart wasn't in it either, because like I said, I was like,
You
I'm
felt like you
not
knew.
delivering that way. Like,
Y'all
quit
are
making me
wasting
do
your
this.
time.
Like, yeah, don't put the peanut ball away. Like,
Yeah.
it's not happening.
See, I feel like I had somewhat of that mentality.
Yeah.
I have never heard anybody say that they knew that. That is
I
just
don't
so
think
interesting.
I knew it like you did,
Yeah.
but like looking back, I wasn't watching how to push. I wasn't in birthing classes.
No, I didn't do any of that
And I
either.
knew I was having a C-section at about like 34 weeks probably.
Mm-hmm.
But up until 34 weeks, you would think I would have researched something, and I did not.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
did I like know?
Yeah,
You knew.
you probably did.
I
But I
probably
was
did.
like, I'm just not. And everyone's laughing at me, you know. I'm like, guys,
So
it's
while
not
you're doing the
happening.
peanut and all these things, is it still in your mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I was like, this is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I wanted that. You know, I wanted the full birth experience. Because, of course, like, since I got induced, my water didn't break. Like, none of that happened. So he broke my water. I'm pretty sure, like, Zach is still scarred for life from that. Just watching that process, you know. All the things happened. He keeps checking me. He's like, I'm not really sure, but like the next Wednesday morning, I had Barrett around like 8:15, 8:30. So he's like, you're not progressing. We're not sure why. I'd had the epidural already because I'm like a baby. Like, you could poke me too hard and I'm in tears. So I was like, give me the epidural. I'm not that girl. Like, I'm not that tough.
Jordan asked for it upon check-in.
Yep.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
is she here? I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah. I was terrified, but honestly, that was the best part. Like, I was like, don't take it out. Leave it in.
Yeah.
Like, I feel nothing. It's great.
You never felt a thing?
No. I felt like the lidocaine, and I was like, ugh. But I think the worst part was that Zach couldn't be in the room.
Oh, for the epidural.
I was like, I don't like that. Like,
right.
And then the nurse was like, oh, you can hold me. And I went to school with her. Like, we cheered together in high school. She worked at the barn for a little bit when she was in college. And she was like, you can squeeze me. And I'm like, I'm going to break you. Like, if this hurts that bad. And then the anesthesiologist was like, okay. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. She was like, no, I already did it.
You're like, great.
I was like, this is the drama? Like, this is what everyone's worried about? I was like, compared to the contractions, that was great. Like, this was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Every contraction, I'd look at Zach and I'm like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm done. Like, this is it. And he's like, you're dramatic.
Well, how long did it take him to decide to actually, it's C-section time?
So once he came in and, like, did another check and I was still at a 4 for, like, 20 hours at this point, he was like, we're going to do a C-section. And I'm like, okay. And then immediately, like, I just started shaking, like, my entire body. Before I didn't have it. And I'm like, why am I shaking? Like, I don't feel pain. I guess I was just super nervous. And Zach is like, okay, I'll call the family and, like, let them know. Because I had a lot of, like, iron issues. I had to get iron infusions with my first pregnancy because I couldn't keep the, like, the supplements down because I would get sick. Mm-hmm. And so my dad was really worried about that. Like, he was like, I don't want you to have surgery because, like, blood
You've
and all
been super
that.
anemic.
Yeah. But they checked. I was like, I'm going to be fine. Like, it's going to be okay. So I know that kind of worried them, but Zach was like, all right, I'm going to call everyone and let them know. And they're like, okay, like, sir, here's your little outfit and your hat, and you get to put that on. He's like, okay. And she's like, now, like, we're leaving. And he's like, rolling. Oh my gosh. So he's like running down the hallway on the phone and letting everyone know. And then, of course, they separate us again, like, once you get in the operating room. Yeah. Didn't like that either. So I'm like, I don't know anyone in here. You know, I don't like that. I like to have one person I know.
Right.
And
how was it? Was it so sad for you to be there without your mom? I mean, y'all are close, right? Like, would you?
Yes, but when I'm in pain, I kind of want my dad more, but I was never going to do that anyways. Right. Like, even if it was coming the natural way, like, that's too much. Like, I love you, but but they literally, like, because you could only have one person, and my parents were like, if you want to pick one of us, like, we'll break it to Zach for you. Like, he does not have to be there. Like, my dad was like, take me, because he has the whatever the universal blood type is, O positive or something. So he's like, I got you. He's like, I need to be there, Zach. We don't really care, you know?
Right. What can you do for her?
I'm cracking up.
So, yeah. And so he was just like, I'll go. But I don't know. I think Zach was a nervous mess, but he knew he had to keep it together because then I'd freak out. Like I said, super sensitive. I'm a baby. But I think the funniest part, looking back at it, is when I'm laying there, like, one of the nurses or, like, surge techs was like, do you want me to explain what we're doing while we do it? I'm like, absolutely not.
No,
why would I want to know?
Yeah.
And, like, the anesthesiologist was so nice. She was like, I'm not going to strap your arms down, you know, like, because some people makes them uncomfortable. I'm like, no, strap mine down.
You're going to want to do
that.
I
don't know. Like, I'm already sitting here shaking. Like, you have to strap them down because I don't know. Like, what if I go to, like, what if it hurts and I go to, like, touch my, she was like, that won't happen. I'm like,
you don't know.
Yes. And so, you know, at that point, I didn't realize it was going to literally take 15 minutes for my baby to be in my arms, but it was so fast.
No time.
Yeah. Both of you say so fast. I felt like I laid there for an eternity.
Oh.
Maybe I had like a
that
bad perception of time.
Yeah.
And they did my endometriosis surgery.
You had extra.
Yeah, you were in there for a while.
Maybe. I don't know. Y'all both are like, oh, so quick. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
the first one. Forever.
Honestly, that was probably the most traumatizing part. I'm like, at this point, I've been in the hospital for more than 24 hours.
And you're starving.
Yeah,
right?
I can't eat anything.
Right.
Mad about that already. And then you're like, okay, we're going to do this. 15 minutes later, I'm trying to feed the baby.
Right.
Like, I was prepared, but I wasn't.
No, nobody's prepared for that. I knew I was having a C-section. I was not prepared for everything that happened.
No, definitely was not. So then he's out. You know, they lay him on my chest. We take the picture. We're like, oh my gosh. Zach goes with him to the nursery because he had pooped in the womb. I'm like, oh, he's advanced. That's great.
Yes,
right.
love
and
that.
so they take him to the nursery to make sure he can get all cleaned out. And then Zach beat me back to the room. And he tells everybody, like, he was like, oh my gosh, something terrible happened. Like, why did I beat her back in here, you know? the whole
Freaking
thing.
out.
Yeah,
Okay, I can't blame them on that.
Yeah.
We're very worst case scenario. It's so bad. I'm like, one of
We
us
are,
has
too.
to be best case scenario, but we're not.
No.
We're both worst
You
case
take
scenario.
it all the way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get back in there and they bring Barrett right in. And they're like, okay, we're going to try feeding him. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, I feel like I was so loopy. And at first, like, thinking, like, oh, taking him, letting them take him to the nursery. I'm like, that's not happening. Like, that's my baby. After that C-section, even though all I did was lay there, I was like, I trust you. You can go. Like, I would be such a hypocrite if I don't let strangers take care of my baby when that's what I do for a living. So,
It's still
This
hard.
one's fresh, though.
Yes.
Because, like, my thing with both my kids, I was like, you know, you see them in the C-section operating room, and then you're like, am I going to remember that face? What if they bring me the wrong baby?
oh, yeah.
I mean, does every mom not think that?
I'm like, I saw you for
I think
2
they
seconds.
do. Well, because Barrett's out here with blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, Zach has blue eyes, but we both have very dark hair. So I'm like, whose baby is that?
No, that's me and
Exactly,
Remy,
you know?
because Remy's blonde hair, blue eyes. Jared and I are both brown hair, brown eye.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whose kid are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, and people make the joke all the time. I'm like, that's not funny. Like, what if they got switched at the hospital?
No,
but I
I
love
know.
Barrett, so you can't have him back if he's
Exactly.
yours. So I'm like, I did all
We're
the work
committed.
after there. Yeah. So, but I did let him go to the nursery that first night, and the nurse was super nice. She was pregnant herself. Her name was Emily. I remember. She was so nice.
so
I was
sweet.
like, yes, you can take care of my baby. And the nursery, I knew was like literally right down the hall.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I don't get any sleep, I'm not going to be any good anyways, because
Right.
I still can't stand up.
How was your pain after a C-section? Because we both died the first time.
You know, it stunk really bad. But I feel like the worst part was when they come and push on your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that was going to happen. But it also, like, so many people come in and do it that it was like, you don't know. Like, some people are, like, gentle. And I'm like, oh, you haven't given birth. Like, you don't know. And then some people come in and they're, like, putting all their weight in there.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm going to hurt you. Because that
Now's when my
hurts.
arms need to be strapped
Yeah.
down because I'm about to punch you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst part of it both times was that, you know, like you have to go to the bathroom within 6 hours of getting your epidural out. Couldn't do it. So I had to get straight cathed multiple times. And that was terrible. Like I remember with Barrett, I got straight cathed and she's like, okay, I'm going to take it out. Nothing's coming. And I'm like, no. Like, I have to pee, I promise. She's
Yeah.
like, no, you don't. I'm like, don't move that hat. Like, I remember, like, getting a little snippy and was like, just wait. And then I filled up the whole, like, 600 milliliter little thing. I was like, I told you. I had to pee.
Give me
like,
a minute.
I don't know why it's taking me so long. I'm trying. I'm pushing. Nothing's happening. Like, this hurts.
I mean, I've kind of been through a lot recently.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah, so.
Is it a myth about the breaking your water and how soon after you have to basically get the baby out one way or another?
I feel like it is because they broke my water at, like, 10:30 on Tuesday with Barrett. And then I didn't have him till 8:30 on Wednesday. Like,
Oh, yeah, he had
PM to AM.
a nice
Yeah.
long time.
When you said you were in labor
Yeah.
that long, I'm like, wait a minute.
Where's his water?
Yeah, they broke the water to see if that would, like, you know, kind of
Progress.
progress everything, but I still couldn't get dilated to a 4 because, like, after everything is over, my doctor comes over and he's, like, weirdly, like, petting my hair. Like, he's touching my hair. And when I first, like, called to find out I was pregnant, I was like, I want a woman doctor because, like, I felt like that was the right thing to do. Like, I was like, I can't let a man, like, look at me or touch me or anything. Like, that's just weird. Didn't end up getting along with the woman. Like, just wasn't. It was just the whole
Yeah,
thing.
wasn't a good match.
Felt like it was more like quantity of patients rather than like quality of care.
Right.
And it's my first pregnancy and I had a lot of questions and I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. Like I get it, but like
Okay.
it's your job. Answer my questions, you know?
No,
Yeah, she
literally,
needs
it's
to
your job.
comfort you.
Yeah. And it was COVID, so Zach couldn't come to any of the appointments. So I'm
Okay,
like, I have
COVID
no one
babies
to be
are
here
hard.
for me.
Yeah, it's even more terrible.
Yeah.
Because Remy was my second, but she was a 2020 baby. Like, we are full pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't take her to the nursery. It was terrible.
What?
No.
But
I
you were not
would've-
denied.
No.
I did. And it was my second kid, so I was ready, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And then, like, even her first bath was in my room in the sink.
No.
Everything was in the room.
Yeah. But like you can't recover properly, you know? I was like,
No,
I'm
I
not going to
do.
be any good if I can't recover properly and then take care of you.
Yeah.
But I just remember he came over and he was like, so I figured out why you wouldn't dilate past a 4. And I'm like, okay. And Zach's not in the room at this point, but I wish he was because he's a lot more knowledgeable about the medical stuff. He's like the medically, you know, issued child in his family. Like he's the
Okay.
problem
go-to.
there.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I wish he was, but he was like, you have a bicornate uterus. And, you know, at this point, I'm laying there. I'm like, yeah, okay, sounds good.
Whatever you say.
And then he leaves the room and they're willing me back. And I'm like, what did he say? Like, I
And
don't
what does that
even
mean?
know. Well, yeah. He's like, I'll come explain it to you later. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm a little still out of it a little.
So did they figure that out during the C-section?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, instead of my uterus being basically like an upside down pear shape, it's a heart shape. So it's split down the middle.
Oh.
And so Barrett was in my left side, which makes sense because the whole time, like, you would look at me and I was all belly just on one side. Like, why are you sticking out over here like some kind of alien weird thing going on? So I was like, okay, good to know. And he's like, so that kind of makes a lot of things lined up. Like, even in my whole life, like how my cycles were when I was younger. Just everything kind of fell into place. We're like, this makes sense. And I was like, I knew there was something wrong the whole time. Like, Zach just thought I was being dramatic. And I was, but I was right. Either way, I was right.
It's a justified dramatic.
Yeah, you can be both.
For sure. So he was like, you need to wait at least, this much longer than other people between pregnancies because there's just, like, different things with that, I guess. I don't know. I Googled it. Shouldn't have. It's just a whole thing. Like, don't go down the Google rabbit hole.
Okay, that's the theme of this whole podcast. Where are we naming it?
That is the topic of
We're going to rename the podcast.
Yeah.
Don't Google it.
Yeah, and I do. And then I tell people, don't Google it. And I'm over there Googling it for them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and my mom did that. Like, when she wasn't feeling good quite a few years ago, like, she was just Googling and she was like, guys, I think I have testicular cancer.
Wow.
And we're like,
she found it.
Yeah. And we
That's
still,
definitely
she's going to kill me, but, like, we still, like, laugh about it. And she's like, okay, I was being dramatic. Like, it was just a joke. But we're like, no, part of you thought, like, what if this is possible?
Right.
Like, this makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. But I Googled it. Shouldn't have. It's just a whole thing. But my second pregnancy was just so different. Like, I wasn't sick, but I just felt like all the time like I was going to pass out. I still feel that way, like, all the time. But I was under the impression that I would have Riot early, that, it wasn't possible for my water to break or anything. False information. It was so bad. So I was convinced he was coming earlier. My doctor was too. We were prepared. Like, we kind of had, like, goals. We're like, okay, we're going to try to make it to 28 weeks is the first goal. Okay, you made it there. Let's make it to 30. Okay, you made it to there. 32.
So we thought we were coming really early.
Yes. Was this due to the uterus or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and Riot was on my right side. And so we were like, we kind of thought, even the doctor was like, kind of impressive that everything worked out the first time because it shouldn't have. Because with Barrett, he was breech. So Christmas Eve of 21, they flipped him because I wanted to try to have it, naturally.
How was that process?
It didn't hurt.
Really?
No.
It's fine.
I've heard that's painful.
No, it took 2 minutes.
Okay. Now, is that not something they can see on an ultrasound? I know obviously nothing about that. But
so the reason we've kind of found out was my mom for my birthday's in September, had got me like a 4-day ultrasound. And so we went there and the tech was like, hey, like, I'm not really supposed to say anything, but you need to call your doctor. And at this point, I'm in tears.
Yeah, let me panic.
And then Zach is mad at her. He's like, hello, my wife is dramatic already. Like, I don't need you making it worse, And so I called my mom and I was like, they said I need to call and blah, blah, blah. And I had just gotten switched over to the new doctor. So I call the after hours number and it's my old doctor. And she's like, it's fine. They'll check you at 34 weeks or 36 weeks. Then we can worry about it then. And I'm like, okay. But, like, in the back of my mind, I'm, like, really stressed out about it,
Of course, that's not an answer.
So I go to my appointment a few days later, and my doctor is like, yes, you are breech. Like, here's what we can do. I had, like, the non-stress test that day. So he's like, while you're sitting there clicking the button for every movement you feel, like, talk about it, pray about it, see what you think if you want to do it. So we called our families because even though we're married and in our 20s, we're still like, Mom, Dad, what do we do?
That's normal.
Okay,
yes,
good.
That's absolutely
Glad to know.
Normal.
So, and, both of them, they're like, hey, we're here, like, go for it. So we kind of had to go into it's like aversion or aversion that when they flip in. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of had to go in prepared to have the baby just in case. And so that was the longer process, was checking into the hospital, getting the blood work, getting an IV. I had to sign off all the paperwork just in case we had to move to a C-section or anything like that, because that was the biggest risk.
Oh, wow.
So then after Barrett came out and we found out about the bicornate uterus, he was like, would not have done that. He's like, that was really dangerous.
Okay.
And I was like, good to know. Thank you, God, for being on my side
No,
there.
for real.
And he was like, yeah, mine too, because I had never had those go wrong. And my doctor actually delivered, like, my husband and everyone in his family.
Wow.
So, like, he was a doctor that I knew I could trust. And
Yes.
at first, then I was like, I feel so silly being like, I don't want a male doctor. And now I'm like, no one else is allowed to touch me.
Yep, just
Yes.
you.
Yeah, like, just you. And I recommend him to everyone. And
Yeah.
at my, like, follow-up with Riot, he was like, how many people are you going to send my way? Like, I've got
All of them.
half the cheer team that you cheered with in high school. And I'm like, you're welcome.
And we're going
I'm
to daycare,
helping your
buckle up.
income.
Right.
Yeah. You're welcome. But so it just kind of, I just had all these like things where I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. I kind of accepted it. I'm like, my water's never going to break. I'm never going to go into labor naturally. Like, this sucks, but I'll figure it out. So when I got pregnant with Riot, you know, the first woman in there, he's like, this is not the amount of time I told you.
I was going to say.
It needed to be in between.
I was going to say, your kids are really close.
Yeah, they're 19 months apart.
Yeah.
And so he was like, this is not what we talked about.
You got scolded.
Like, oh, yeah. But he was so nice about it, you know. He's like, this isn't what we talked about, but it's going to be
But
okay.
here we are.
Yes, but here we are. We're going to move forward. What are we going to do, you know? And I wanted them close, but not that close. I was feeling like a 2-year age gap.
Yeah.
Which, close-ish, but I was thinking 2 years before we started trying.
And
which is what the doctor said he wanted anyways. Yeah. I just didn't listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you knew you wanted more than one.
Yes.
Okay.
Before having babies and like really being pregnant, I was like, 6 minimum.
That was me.
That was Victoria. She wanted 7.
I still want that many. I'm just not going to be the one to
birth them
or be pregnant with them.
Yes.
So if that ever changes, you know, the anatomy of how that works,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Right.
Zach, your turn to contribute to this, but no, not happening. So I feel like I had all these notions of like how it was going to go. I was like, I know, like he'll come early. He didn't come early. We kind of like bickered about it the whole time. Zach's like, he's coming on time. Like, nope, he's coming early. But either way, we didn't know, you know? So I had a scheduled C-section for August 9th at 1:30 p.m. because that was going to be like my 39 weeks. And he knew he wanted to take it, you know, make to 39, then we're good.
Yeah.
We're just going to try for there. So August 9th, 1:30. Ride ends up coming August 9th, 1:30 a.m. instead of p.m.
Oh.
So I was like, we were both right. He came the right day, but he still came early because it was 12 hours.
Yeah, he missed the memo.
Yes. So my last day of work was a Tuesday. Again, I just realized that. They kind of both came on Wednesdays. But my last day of work, I remember like staying late, trying to figure everything out because we've got the expansion going on. I was already in trouble for, you know.
Yeah, you did not plan that well for the expansion.
No, and I was so scared.
Or you did.
I did not, I swear. I was so scared to tell my parents because...
You knew.
I knew.
Yeah.
And I told them we were eating at Peabody's. And we had like, there were other barn families like at tables next to us. And I was like, so what if you guys going to do like if you don't get a granddaughter? My dad's like, why are we even talking about this? And I'm like, well, you know. He's like, the next one could be a girl. He's like, you don't get to decide. I'm like, what if we already know it's a boy? What? And then my mom's just staring at me. And I was like, yeah, you're having another grandson in August. And they're like, oh, yay. And then they were like,
oh, August.
we're still really happy, but what did you just say? You
But
know,
when?
my dad he got up, he hugged me. My mom's looking at me like, I knew, you know, because she works with me every day too. So it's not like I could hide it. I did for 15 weeks with Riot.
That's impressive.
But I wasn't
That
sick.
is impressive.
With Barrett, I only hit it at 10. And
So
then
you
they're
told
like, this
them-
makes sense on why you keep throwing up all the time.
Oh.
But with Riot, I could hide it longer. I don't know why I did. I guess I just wanted to see, you
Good
know.
for you.
And because since I did have those notions of how this was going to go, I wanted to make sure it was going to be successful first.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't want everybody knowing if it wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know how women handle that.
Yeah.
That do have that happen. So I feel like I knew how things were going to go. And then my last day of work was on a Tuesday. Zach gets home around like a little after 9, and I'm on the phone with my like friends, and they're like, how are you feeling about tomorrow, the big day, you know? And I'm like, man, y'all, I'm fine, but my back is killing me. And my friend Nikki is like, you're in labor. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, I've had 2 kids. You're in labor. You need to go to the hospital. And me and Lindsay are like, whatever. You're dramatic. Like, we're not in labor. It's fine. Zach comes in. He's like, the soccer game's on. She's not in labor. Like, we don't have time for that. We're watching this game. And I'm like, yes, we are. Like, I'm not in labor. This is dramatic. So we sit there, we're watching the game, eating some dinner, we go to bed, we're talking like for like 3 minutes. I roll over because I'm like, once we're going to bed, I'm like, you get on your side, I'm gonna go over here.
Space.
Yeah. Roll over, I just feel like a little pop, 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 and I'm like, my water just broke. And Zach's like, whatever. And he sits up and he's like, you swear? And I like pull the covers back and he's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what do we do? And he's like, well, first of all, get out of the bed, like go to the bathroom. And this fool hadn't even packed his bag yet.
Oh, no.
Because he felt like he could manifest it coming, you know, on time. And I'm like, at this
Well,
point,
I
we
mean,
made
the
it to
night
39
before.
weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
come on now. He was just going to pack it in the morning.
Oh.
Leisurely.
Yeah. Yeah, we love him. But so he's over there rushing, and I'm calling my dad, who literally just got off of his feet for the day because they worked late. And I'm like, hey, I have good news and I have bad news. He's like, all right. So the good news is my water just broke, so your grandbaby's coming. He's like, seriously? And I can hear my mom like, what's going on? What's going on? I didn't know to call her because I was like, she'd probably have a heart attack real quick.
Right.
I was like, the bad news is I know you just sat down, but like I have to bring you my other kid.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Luckily, we live on the same property, so it was like a 2-minute drive. And my dad comes out and gets him. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, once we get to the hospital and I can get the epidural, I'll be great. But of course, it was in the middle of the night. So, of course, they're sleeping. So, it's not really like a update you by text every 5 seconds thing. Yeah. But so I call the hospital because I'm like, I didn't know this was going to happen. Like, what do I do? So, I'm like sitting on a towel in the car. I'm like, do I take the towel in? Like, what do we do here? Mm-hmm. And Zach's like, I think we just say a prayer and go in and hope nothing happens because it's still leaking like everywhere. I call the hospital and I'm like, hi. I was scheduled for a C-section at 1:30 p.m., but I'm on the way because my water broke. And they're like, okay. Like, you need to go to the ER. And I'm like, the ER? What?
Yeah, I need to be able to get straight in.
Yes.
Take me to labor and delivery.
Yes. Not what happened. So I go in the ER, and they're just taking their sweet time. You know, they're used to, people coming in a rush. They're used to it. And they're like, what's your name? And I'm having contractions that are so strong. I'm like shaking and like looking at Zach like, I'm going to murder you, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, we'll get your wheelchair down here in a minute. Just have a seat. And I'm like, have a seat? Like, I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this baby's like, what if it pops it on the floor? Can that even happen?
Can I even do that?
Can I, since it didn't come the first time? And so finally, they get down there, and the lady's so nice. She just puts me in a wheelchair. She's asking me all these questions, and I'm like, please stop talking to me.
Yeah,
I'm in so much pain.
Yes, like I'm hurting so bad. Like I can't form words right now. We get up there, and the same nurse that was there didn't get to deliver with Barrett, but got to like take care of me because she works a night shift. Was there again for Riot. The one that I cheered with, her name's Abby. We cheered in high school together. She worked at the barn for a little bit. So I felt like immediately I was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Like she's here. She knows
it's under
all
control.
The drama. It's going to be fine. She's like, well, I have to check you even though I don't know that's not really how this is going. She's like, and sucky thing is your doctor's not on shift yet and we can't wait. So like you're going to have another new doctor. And I'm like stressing.
Yeah.
I was like, stressful. Is it my first OB? Like I had the original? She was like, no. I'm like, okay, good. Because Zach would have been like, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to wait because we're not having.
Yeah, we're not doing
that. And so I was kind of nervous that time for sure. But she checked me. I was only dilated to a 3. And so she was like, okay, like, we're going to get you back there in like half an hour. I'm like, okay. I'm like, the epidural? Like, where's it at? She's like, well, you'll get it in there. I'm like, oh, no.
So I have to wait half an hour.
Have to wait.
Yes.
Which is an eternity.
Mm-hmm. Forever. So I go in there. You know, they separate us again. I get up onto the table myself this time, which is weird because last time I had the epidural. So they're like lifting me. And they're like, don't help, but I couldn't understand that concept.
Yeah,
so.
It's so weird. I walked into my room. I wasn't
so
rolled.
crazy.
I just walked in.
Yeah. The second time, I was rolled in and I was like, okay, get off the bed and go in there. I'm like, why couldn't I just walk down here? Mm-hmm. Like, this is dramatic.
Yeah.
So I get up on the table and I see the other OB. She's just sitting in a rolly chair, just waiting. She's just chilling. And I'm like, okay, this is stressing me out a little bit. And then anesthesiologist comes in. And of course, again, I'm shaking, like, through the pain. And she's like, honey, you got to quit moving. And I'm like, I'm trying. Like, I'm not moving myself.
It's all involuntary movements.
She's like, are you cold? And I'm like,
no,
I don't think so. Like, here I am in all my glory, but I don't think I'm cold. She gets a warm towel. She lays it on my back. She's like, you're still shaking. I'm like, I know. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't know what to do, but like, I'm contracting. You've got these things on my feet that are squeezing. Like, I'm dramatic. It hurts, you know? She puts the epidural in and it was too far to the right. So immediately, the whole right side of my body was just instant pain and I couldn't speak. And I just remember like grunting, I guess. And she's like, is that okay? And I'm like, and I couldn't form words. And she's like, you have to tell me if it's in the wrong spot. And I'm like looking at the nurse in front of me and I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. Like I was just shocked because I was in so much pain. And I said, it's too far to the right. And she's like, okay. So she moves it over and then I'm instantly like relief. I was
wow.
like, okay.
Oh, that would freak me out.
Yeah, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yes. Literally the whole like
and like the
postpartum.
fact that you could tell her that it was too far to the right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was so bad. And like even recovery, like I had a bruise like on the right side where it went that it wasn't supposed to go. My fault for shaking, but like at the same time I couldn't help it. Yeah.
You are not the only person to ever shake.
No. And Zach was outside in the hallway and he's like watching in the little window and he's like, I knew that something happened. Like he's like,
yeah, he could tell it.
Yeah. He comes in there just like normal, you know. I'm strapped down. Again, they're like, do you want me to tell you what we're doing? No. I don't want to know.
I want to be in the dark.
Get it over with. So I'm laying there. Riot's delivered. We didn't get the full picture this time of like the whole family. They kind of laid Riot on my chest and Zach took a picture. They left at the nursery like that. So I was like, okay, I know what happens. Like, we should be done any minute. They're in there whispering. I'm like, oh my gosh, now what? First time I had a bicoordinate uterus. Like, what this time, you know? It wasn't that dramatic, but they did a little bit of plastic surgery.
Oh, okay.
Because I guess my first scar, like, they couldn't just recut it open because it had like keloided is the word, I guess. So it like bubbled up too much. So they cut above and below it and just tore it out. So that way it'll heal better. I'm like, okay. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Like, thanks for the plastic surgery.
I appreciate it.
Did you feel like you had a big scar the first time?
I
or
didn't,
was it
but I
inside?
like I didn't really know. But I feel like other people that I knew had C-sections, theirs was like much smaller and mine was still huge.
Okay.
But I was like, maybe it's just because it hasn't been enough time because I didn't wait. I didn't listen like I was supposed to.
Me either.
So.
It's fine.
You feel me. So I feel like I didn't really think anything was wrong, but I'm sitting there laying there for forever. I'm like, gosh, guys, what is taking so long? Like, where's my baby? You know? But recovery the second time was pretty much the exact same. Couldn't go to the bathroom, but I knew what to do, you know? I was like, I know the pain. They're going to come in. They're going to push. I'm like, you be nice. Like,
You're more mentally prepared.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because you're not, like, completely in the dark of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, when I was pregnant with Barrett, I watched all the YouTube videos, like, all the reels. Like, I was like, I want to know what's going to happen. Didn't happen that way, but I still wasn't prepared for the C-section.
You can't know until you live it.
No, you can't because nobody's gonna like give all that information.
Jordan gave me a lot,
I did.
and I still wasn't prepared for what actually happened.
Yeah.
I'd been told the steps in detail.
Yeah.
And I was still not prepared
Still
for it
to
to
live
happen
it.
to my body.
Yeah. The second time I was like, okay, I've got this. And like I was up walking around more and Zach is like, sit down. Like we did this the first time. I think he's like, I know you think you're Superwoman, but you need to sit down. He's like, take the medicine. Like, I'm like, no, I got this. But
I did feel a lot better my second time. Jordan didn't, but the second time was a lot easier for me.
For sure. I felt like I had to because here I have Barrett, you know.
Exactly.
He's not even 2 yet. And I can't even pick him up. Like, I'm going to have to be able to make sure I can play with him, do something. I can't be worthless to him, you know. I can't be like, sorry, I had another kid, so Mommy can't touch you anymore.
Got a replacement for him.
And that was the hardest part because he'd cry and he'd be like, Mommy, you want me to pick him up? And I'd go and, like, all the family's like, don't you do it. And I'm like, I don't want to wear
like
my
you feel
stitches.
like you can is the thing.
Oh, yeah. I'm like,
Or
I'm
like,
strong. You
I'm
know?
sitting on the couch. I can pull you up on the couch. I really pushed it.
Yeah.
Mason was 17 months old. I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. But I feel like also I knew the second time, I was like, okay, my pain tolerance much higher now. I just went through that. Like now when you go to the doctor and you get your blood drawn, they're like, do you like needles? I'm like, I don't care. Listen, I've been
needles
through
are
labor
fine.
twice, had 2 C-sections. I'm good. I'm not going to cry when you poke me anymore. I'm going to be fine.
I'm all good. So are y'all done with kids or on the table?
Like I said, I want to obtain children.
Okay, but we're not physically having more children.
No.
Okay.
I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
The recovery was easier, but like, I don't know. I feel like, because we kind of know that Barrett, we didn't think it would work out that way.
Right.
So I felt when I got pregnant with Riot, I felt like I was kind of a mess because I was like, God's not going to do it again. You know, like he's not going to make everything okay again. I don't deserve that, you know. I didn't feel like I deserved it with Barrett for everything to work out perfectly.
So how many times do you want to push it?
Yeah. I'm like,
get
I
lucky.
don't want to do it again. I don't want to keep pushing, which is kind of pathetic in a sense. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah. No.
But I want to obtain more children. I'm like,
Right.
where can we get them? You know, like I'll have all the children, but I don't want
Good
to.
thing you
I was
full
going to
daycare.
say, you have a whole daycare,
Oh,
and
yes.
anybody listening that needs a mom.
Yeah, if you need a
You know where
mom,
to find her.
here I am. Right
Do you
here.
have a child that you might want to put up for adoption?
Yeah. Yeah. I tell Zach all the time, like, we can adopt. Like, where are we going to get them from? Anywhere. And he's like, no. He's like, we're not having any, like, he's like, if we're having kids, they're coming from you. He's like, they're going to look like me. Luckily, Riot looks like me. He's got brown eyes. Well, no, his eyes are blue. I don't know why I said that. He has blue eyes, but
Because he's 3 months old and you're still
Yes.
sleep deprived.
I don't know. But, like, his hair is dark. His complexion is darker. Like, him and Barrett look nothing alike, but Riot looks like me and Zach. So I'm like, sorry, Barrett. You're kind of on your own.
Walking
Like,
out.
I promise we're both his parents.
Yeah.
Like, nothing sketchy happened there, but he just doesn't look like us.
Now, are their names like family names? How did we come up with their names?
So for Barrett, my parents were over at the house one day, and we're like, okay, we've got to figure out names for girls and boys, you know, both ways. And I wanted to pick them out. You know, I'm like, I'm the one pregnant. I'm the one that's going to have to give birth. Like, I'm picking the names, you know. I don't care if you guys give good suggestions. I'm going to say no. And Zach said Barrett. And then everyone's like, yeah, we can call him Rhett. And I'm like, it's too common, you know. Like, at the barn, you have kids, even if the children are great. You know, I'm not going to use those names for my kids
Right.
because I'm always going to associate that with another kiddo that I took care of.
Yeah.
So that was hard. So I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then when I saw him, I was like, yeah, he's Barrett. Like, it just works. But we don't call him Rhett or anything.
So you waited till you saw him to like make it official his name?
I feel like when we were in the hospital, I was like, if it's a boy, it's for sure going to be Barrett. And when I saw him, I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, what else would I have named you? You know, like it
Nothing
makes
else
so much
fits.
sense. Yeah. With Riot, I wanted to name him after my uncle, my mom's brother. His name is Ryan. But I was like, still too common. And like nobody really names their kid Ryan anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, Uncle Ryan, but you know, nobody really does that. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was like, you have to name him Wyatt. It's so original. And I'm like, what? No, it's not. Like, I've got 3 Wyatts. She's like, well, she's really big into the ancestry. So she was like, listen, this person, their name was Wyatt in y'all's family. And I'm like,
It is a family.
that's great. But no, it's not going to work. And then Zach and I heard Riot one time, and we were like, that's it. And then I changed my mind like halfway through. I was like, no, I'm naming this baby Tate. And Zach was like, Tate? No, you're not. He was like, yes. I was like, I don't like Riot anymore. I don't like it. I don't know what. It was like for like 3 or 4 weeks, I was just convinced that couldn't be his name. And then I was like, oh, changed my mind. I was like, I don't know. I guess the hormones. I was like,
did
never
you ever
mind.
second guess your kids' names at all?
No, we knew him right away.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
I knew Mason, but I did second guess Remy.
Did you?
Yeah.
That fits her though.
I think it does, but like Remington, like people had opinions.
See,
Well,
if we
yeah,
had
Remington,
had-
Barrett. It's
If we
Yeah.
had Henry first, I don't know that he would be a Henry. It is a family name, and
Yeah.
that's why I love it so much. But
Yeah.
people were like, Henry, that's an old man name. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's so cute.
It is cute.
So-
Yeah.
And then Emma, you just wanted Emma. We've never talked about this.
I know. So she's an Emma Catherine. My first name is Catherine. I just don't go by Catherine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
got an alias.
Learning new
So
things.
we knew she would be an Emma Catherine. And then since Henry was second, we knew we were doing a family name. He's got the old man name, Henry Gibson.
I just love both of those though, Henry and Gibson.
I mean, I do too.
I feel like there was so much pressure with the second one because it's like, do I go a B name? Do I
Oh,
go a
yeah.
name with 2 T's? Like, do I just do something completely different? And Barrett is Barrett Lee because pretty much both sides of our family, everyone's middle name is Lee.
Okay, easy.
Yeah, except Zach's. His middle name is Robert. So that's Riot's middle name. But we were like, okay, at least we knew Riot's middle name before we knew his first name. We're like, it'll be Robert because Barrett is Lee. My dad was like, they can all be Lee. Like, everyone's Lee. My dad is Jeremy Lee. My mom is Jessica Lee. My brother is Caityln Lee. I'm Caitlyn Marie. I'm like, I don't know why I got left out.
Why did you
Yeah.
get left
You
out?
got
I don't know.
shorted.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
so bad about it. I bring it up a lot. I'm a little sensitive about it. But I'm like, why was I Caitlyn Marie? You know, I didn't get the Lee name. But like Zach's dad, grandfather, they're Robert Lee. So like it just kind of all went. So we knew middle names before first names for both, really. Because he,
So interesting. We all 3 like the middle names are the family names.
yeah.
Well, Henry's
Henry's
a
is
family.
both, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you guys like tell people their names or did you kind of keep it a secret?
So with Mason, I knew Mason Scott from like 5 seconds pregnant.
Yeah.
Once I knew he was a boy, Mason Scott was his name.
Yeah.
Scott is a family name. It's my dad's middle name, my brother's middle name, everybody's middle name is Scott.
Yeah.
Remy, I was not settled on her middle name until like the very end, so I didn't tell anybody her middle name.
Gotcha.
So it was either going to be Ruth, which is after like my Aunt Cindy,
Mm-hmm.
or what her middle name is Jane. So Jarrett and his siblings, it's Jarrett, Allie, Nick, and Eli. So like their initials spelled Jane.
I love that.
I love
I know,
that.
it's just
How
so cute.
clever.
Yeah, so that's why she's Remy Jane.
I love that.
I know.
Did you tell everybody like Henry and Emma's names?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know for sure.
You had stuff monogrammed.
Yes,
like at your
definitely.
showers.
She did.
Yeah, I'm like, that was a big monogramming time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Emma had all her stuff. And Henry, I think I was nervous, but I didn't care at that point that people didn't like it. I was a second time mom. I was just felt that was right.
Yeah.
We didn't monogram as much for him since he was a boy, but several things we were prepared.
Of course, Barrett we didn't because we didn't know for sure
What he would be,
Yeah, gender wise. But with Riot we didn't. One, because I'm like, I gotta drive people crazy again, you know.
It's a fun time.
But also, I was so scared. Like, what if I'm that person that I'm like, okay, his name's gonna be Riot. People monogram stuff, like you said, and then I'm like, changed his name. Because then I'm like, not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm his mother. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
But
you can Kylie
in
Jenner
the
it.
back of my mind, I was like, I don't want to change it. And then everyone would be like, oh, okay, well, I paid this much money for that monogram. Let me take that back.
Right.
So, and I knew like grandparents would totally do that. Like everything would have his name on it. So, and even if like Barrett was going to be a girl, like I didn't want all the pink and purple. I'm like, don't give me the gender neutral stuff. That way, if we have more, you know, I don't have to get new stuff. So,
Exactly.
in that time frame, like I got lucky because Riot was a boy, so I already had all the same stuff. Didn't have to get new stuff. That's why we did find out with Riot, because I'm like, if it's a girl, I need to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know, but also then I would feel like a complete one boy, one girl, just like you guys. I was like, okay, maybe people won't ask for more. Now I have 2 boys, and people are like, so the third. Like, people at the barn all the time. Trish today was like, when are you having the girl? And I'm like,
I still have a baby.
I'm like,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, I have really good kids. I don't know how I looked out in that aspect. Like, they sleep.
Okay, the end.
You can stop there. They sleep.
Yeah.
They're both just so healthy and perfect. And
it makes my mom so crazy. Like, she's like, they still sleep better than your brother, and he's almost 5. Like, I don't understand.
Aww.
Like, Barrett, I don't know. I feel like I was so terrified to, like, sleep with them, but I also did formula, so I know it's much easier. Like, when moms try to breastfeed or pump, like, they don't wait as long, so you got to sleep at some point. But I did formula with both boys, so as soon as they were gaining weight consistently, I'm like, okay, like, I'm not waking you up to feed you in the middle of the night anymore.
No.
Because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Like, Zach remembers, like, vividly one of the first nights home with Barrett, like, he wakes up, because that boy, like, I'm pretty sure our house could blow up and he would still be asleep. Like, he wouldn't have a clue. But I can, like, hear something and I'm like, the door opened, you know?
that's everybody. That's every couple ever.
Is it just a mom thing? Like, you
It's
just
a mom
know?
thing. Yeah.
Good to know. It does make me feel better.
No, it is.
It's definitely not just you.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not waking him up anymore. And eventually he started sleeping and he was still getting weight. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And we don't look back. He's never slept in our bed because I was just terrified to do it. Like, horrified out of my mind. And there were definitely moments where I was like, we're just going to go to sleep. And Zach's like, no, you told me I was not ever allowed to let you do this. So we're going to move him over there. I mean, and I had one of the bassinets. Luckily, like, there's kids in all the family. So I get hand-me-downs all the time. So a bassinet
so nice.
I got for my aunt and uncle. So it stayed by the bed. Both boys used it. It's got the drop side, which was lucky considering, like, I had the C-section. So we were on the couch for a while anyways because I couldn't get up onto the bed.
Oh, yeah.
So we dropped the bassinet way down to the couch and I would just kind of like lay there and like change him or do whatever. Like, we lived on the couch for a while, and Caityln was confused. I remember he stayed with us like when Barrett was like a month or 2 and he's like, why is the mattress in the living room?
What's going on?
Okay, I had a mattress in my living room phase.
Yeah.
Of newborn.
Yeah. Because I could only get on the couch, but I didn't want Caityln sleeping on the couch. I'm like, we don't have that big of a couch. Like, all these people can't sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
So, but I remember him being like, why is the mattress goes in the bedroom? Like, I think he just thought, like, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. He's like, y'all had a baby, and now you don't even know how to decorate.
Now you're crazy.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he's really good with them, too.
Was the transition from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2 harder for you?
0 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like just so many things change. Like, you can't just leave. Like, now you're back to asking your parents if you can go somewhere.
Go anywhere.
But my parents, it's the same thing. Like, if they want to go somewhere, they have 4-year-olds that are like, hey, can you watch your brother?
Favor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they definitely watch my boys more than I watch Caityln.
And how did Barrett adjust to being a big brother?
I was really, really worried about that. And I feel like I asked everybody who had more than one kid, I'm like, how is this going to go? Like, I'm preparing for the worst.
I think you asked me one time. And I was like, Mason wasn't even aware of anything, really.
Yeah. And I feel like, so we had kind of nicknamed Riot. He's like Ryro, the first 2 letters of, you know, his first and middle name. So we were like, oh, baby Ryro the whole time. And Barrett's like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's fine. And I'm like, he's going to be so jealous, like, just preparing myself. I'm like, if I expect the worst and that doesn't happen, then I'll be fine.
Anything's an improvement.
Yeah, anything's better. When he came to the hospital, I was so scared because I was like, he's either going to, like, freak out and be like, who's that baby? Like, what if he climbs on the bed and is, like, mad because I can't hold him? Like, what if they rip some stitches open?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to go back in there. And he walks over and he's looking at the baby and he's like, Ryro. And I just remember, like, Zach and I cried after everyone left. We were just like, oh my gosh, like, that went so good. Of course, then he's, like, playing with all the cords and, like, the back of my urine because I'm, you know, hooked up. And he's like, what's this? And we're like, stop touching everything.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
The baby's just another attraction.
He didn't even care. And then we pick him up from school. Unfortunately, Zach got the flu from the hospital with Riot.
Oh,
like, he contracted it there. Gosh. So we had to stay separated. Because I, of course, didn't want Riot to get it.
Well, no.
I didn't want to get it. And so he kind of, like, stayed on the other side of the house. Like, I sit in the living room, and he would come out of our bedroom into the kitchen, like, get a drink. He'd be like, you okay? I'm like, doing great.
Just
like,
surviving.
It's fine. Like, no, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Nothing, except give me the flu.
Right.
So that's not happening. But I don't know. I feel like when we finally did get to pick up Barrett, we, like, brought him into the barn. We're picking him up from school. He gets in the car. He kind of, like, looks over at the car seat, and he's like, the baby? We're like, yeah, we're taking him home. And he's like, okay. Like, I could just tell that he, like, he kind of stared at him the whole time in the car, like, why is he in our car? You know,
Yeah,
like, why is there someone back here?
The build up to the baby and then the realization of it's permanent.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, when we were first time parents, I babysat so much and working at the barn, I was like, I keep waiting for the parents to come get him and like give me $100, you know, for staying with him. Why are they not coming?
Yeah.
You know? But for Barrett, I feel like he's been so helpful. Like, he's a pretty smart guy. He's very independent. He's kind of always been in the me do it phase. So, like, he'll throw the bottles in the sink. He throws dirty diapers away. He's still in a diaper himself, but, like, I'll fold them up, and he'll be like, trash? I'm like, yes.
Just the best helper.
Like, he cleans more than me and Zach, honestly.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. Like, he goes, like, he figured out, like, one day he just picked up his clothes. We changed him into his PJs. He picked up his clothes from school, and he's like, laundry. And he goes and throws them in the laundry room, and we were like,
what an angel.
who
Just
are
the
you?
best.
Yeah. I'm like, who are you? And then it's funny if he'll be with my parents or Zach's parents, like, guess what he did? I'm like, y'all, he's been doing that. Like, I don't know who this kid is. And he talks so well, and people will be like, he talks really well. I'm like, it's not me. Like, I'm not that awesome. I don't know what
That's
happened.
what people told me about Mason. I was like, I guarantee this is nothing of my doing.
No.
I usually say it's the Red Barn.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well, and that's funny, because he'll come home, and, like, he's saying his ABCs, and Zach's like, he knows his ABCs, and I'm crying. I'm like, I didn't even know. How terrible is that? Like, I'm there all the time. But Zach will be like, where did he learn that from? I'm like, hello. Red Barn, like, we don't do nothing there.
That's
Right.
Like, we
Working
are
hard.
working. Like, we are teaching them. And his newest thing is to count to 10, but he forgets 6 and 9. But he's so proud of himself, I don't have the heart to break it to him and be like,
there's time
you
to
forgot
work.
sums. Yeah.
You're doing great.
So he skips the numbers, and he's like, yay, Barrett did it. I'm like, Barrett did do it.
Yes.
But,
And after both kids, did you feel okay, like, mentally? Like, any postpartum, like, anything for you? Or just normal self?
after Barrett, that first night home, I was a basket case. Like, nobody tells you, I don't know if all babies get it, but, like, about the newborn rash, like, you know, when their bodies kind of adjust to a different environment. We got home, and he broke out in, like, the worst, like, splotchy, red, bumpy rash all over his body. And I was like, why did I think I could be a mom? Like, my life is over.
Yeah.
I literally, like, Zach's holding him, and Zach's mom is a nurse, so he calls her, and she's, like, trying to calm us down. I am running around the house, getting every piece of baby clothing, throwing it in the washer with, like, the expensive, like, baby-specific.
Like the drift or whatever.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I'm like, I think I washed this the first time, but I'm going to do it again. Like, I'm a terrible mother. We take him to the pediatrician the next day because he's still got the rash. And they're like, honey, it's just newborn. Like, it's going to be gone in a few days.
They've never had air.
And I'm like, what do I put on it? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, okay. After that first night, I felt good. With Riot, I feel like, I told you, I'm worst case scenario. So I feel like the intrusive thoughts hit sometimes. But I'm like, nope, no, I'm good.
You can block it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, because I know that's not the case.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm always happy when somebody has, like, a good experience
I
and, like,
know.
isn't in a fog or in a funk or something after.
But then you kind of feel guilty because I know, like, I have friends that have kids too, and then I've listened to the podcast before, and I'm like, I hate that you guys went through that. Like, I feel bad
but
for
we
not
still don't
doing
want
that.
you to.
Yeah.
But we don't want you to, so
Yeah.
don't feel any type of guilt. I'm just like, oh, thank goodness. Like,
Yeah.
there are good experiences out there.
Yes.
Because people listen to this podcast, it might just sound kind
They're
of
going
gloom
to
and
think,
doom.
well,
Yeah.
they're terrible.
And
I
no,
feel like-
Caitlyn was fine.
Yeah. I feel like, well, that's the important part is that, like, everybody's is different. Like, you can't prepare. Like you said, Jordan told you everything, and you're like, still, I wasn't ready.
Still wasn't ready.
Like, pregnancies were both different. My pregnancy with Riot was not that bad. The birth wasn't that bad. But the after, I was like, I have so much responsibility. Like, this is kind of a lot. You know?
Yeah,
That's a lot.
one kid is a lot, and then 2 kids is like 10.
Yeah. The transition was easier as far as, like, I knew what I was doing, you know? And I'm not guessing, like, oh, what formula do I need to buy? What do I need to do about this?
You're more confident
like,
in
They
yourself.
have a rash. Yeah, I'm not freaking out and, like, taking him to the doctor the next day and bawling in tears and telling myself I'm the worst mother ever.
Remy had an ingrown toenail, and I had the same meltdown. I'm not joking. She was like 2 days old with an ingrown, like, green toenail. I was like, okay, yep, that's it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a terrible mother.
I need to retire.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. But, I don't know. I still feel like since he is just 3 months old, I'm still kind of in the process of, like, no, you got this, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know that I could do it again. Like you said, why push my luck?
I mean, they told me no more kids, so I know I can't push my luck. But
Yeah.
there was a time I was considering it.
Yeah.
Because, like, with my diabetes, the gestational diabetes, there was no guarantee that'd go away.
Yeah.
Could have hung around. But I felt the same. I was like, why push my luck? I want to be healthy for the kids I have. Like,
The doctor was like, I will do one more on you and that's it. Then you're going to have to go to someone else. And I was like, well, I'm not going to anyone else. So
one
max
more or none.
of 3 anyways.
Yeah.
I'm still saying no. Just know if it happens,
It was not your wishes.
No.
Okay. Understood.
It was God and my husband teaming up against me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because didn't want it. I'm like, I feel like, too, like, I don't want to be outnumbered.
Yeah.
But then here I am, like, today, I'm sitting there, and honestly, Remy's in front of me, and I'm, like, playing with her hair, and I'm like, I'll never get to play with, you know, a little girl's hair, and, like, braid their hair. And I'm like, yes, I will. I'm at the barn. Literally forever.
You are at the barn, and I do love having a girl. Don't get me wrong. It is fun. But if I had, I don't know, it's hard to say if I had two boys, because I don't.
I mean, boys are probably a lot quicker to get ready, you know.
Mason just dresses himself, if you couldn't tell. But Remy is actually very chill. She is Jared, so I can't complain too much. But I know, like, a lot of girls, I'll let you know in the teenage years, because Jordan, you're going through that.
Yeah.
Emma gets, I mean,
the
she has
attitude,
to have her hair
and the
a certain
attitude.
way. Yeah, if you upset her, you're going to get a little snapback. So, gotta give her space.
That's
Henry's
so
just
funny.
super even.
Because I knew Henry and Emma when they were in pre-K, so to think about them like that, I'm like, they would never. Don't say that about them, you know?
Talk about her like that.
Yeah, I'm like, she would not do that.
So, I mean, you might have smooth sailing, like, through the teenage years with no attitude with boys, and they just love their mom so much.
Yeah, they do. I don't know. Barrett is totally a daddy's boy.
Well,
like, when Zach's not around, he'll be like, I'm like, are you mommy's boy? He'll be like, yeah. But the minute anyone else, he's like, daddy's boy. But when he's sick or when he's about to be sick, he's all about mama. Yeah. So I know.
Yeah. What a win.
Last night, I'm like driving home, you know, going like 55. And he's like, Mommy, hold me. And I'm like, dude, I'm driving. And he's like, Mommy, please hold me. So I reach my arm back there and I'm literally holding his toes the way home. And I'm like, dads don't do this.
They do
like,
not
this
do
is
that.
Totally a mother thing. And I'm
is.
sitting here, I'm like, my arms falling asleep. I'm trying not to crash. You know, it's dark. I'm going fast. Like what? Dads have it easy.
They have it easy. They do.
I don't care if that's sexist, but
no, they do. I don't care how involved they are. I don't care how great they are. They have it easy.
Okay, thank y'all for listening to this episode. And if you haven't subscribed already, you can do so on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.